going on, everybody? We're back. This is Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith.
And Ren, the Berserker Marabou. And this is...
SAGAS.
Oh, welcome, everybody.
Yes. How you been, brother?
Yeah, well, I've been grand. A bit sick, but, what can you do? As we say over here, what can you do when you live in a shoe? So...
Never heard that in my life. Sounds like an amazing thing.
I think it's a leprechaun saying or something.
You're quite the leprechaun, man.
Yeah, happy days. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's COVID edition, as you said.
And like I was saying before the podcast started, hopefully for the fans' sake, he can die quietly. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah, if I start coughing and stuff, I do apologize, everybody. It's not contagious through the podcast anyway.
We hope.
Yeah, we hope.
All right.
Are you a local band in need of some promotion? A local band who's looking for that right person to send their music to another level? Well, fear no more, because I got the perfect man for you. Zach Moonshine. Possibly the greatest PR guy I've ever known, and one of the leading people in helping underground acts get to where they need to be. Now, I try to do my part by doing reviews and interviews with anyone who asks for it, but sometimes you just need the professional thing, and he is definitely the top tier of professional thing. So, if you want to get a hold of him, contact Zach, Z-A-C, at Metal Devastation Radio, all one word, .com, and see what he can do for you today. Trust me, he's helped more bands than I can even count, and I'm sure he'll help you as well. Contact him and push your band or artist to the next level.
What do they describe themselves as? Power violence or grindcore or crust punk. So they have a really nice mix of dirty genres, So Todd Jones, he's just an absolute animal of a man, an absolute animal, pure conviction. I don't think I've heard anybody with such powerful aggression. His presence is just unmatched. I love that. I love when somebody's doing something, if they're doing it with solid conviction and just pure intensity, like I'm all in, So, but that's where the hardcore side of Todd comes into this. So yeah, straight away I was like, oh man, I'm digging this. It's a really interesting production as well. So straight away you're like, oh right. To me, it sounded like Converge almost straight away. And then I figured out as I went through it that it was produced by the guitarist from Converge in his studio. So, I don't know, man. God City Studios is a studio out in a really cool place called Witch City in Salem in Massachusetts. And that's a wicked studio, man. It kind of goes to show what they were going for this record, because you see the bands that have recorded there, like Converge, Cave In, Every Time I Die, High on Fire. So they have that that kind of direction of the sound that they wanted on this record, and they absolutely nailed what they were going for. The cool thing is that, like I said, I love hardcore music, and I've always been a big fan of Terror. And this, if this was produced somewhere else, it would be closer to a hardcore record than anything. But because it was produced by the Converge chap, his name is Kurt Ballow. He just brings that raw, gritty, distorted sound to it, So that was my initial thought on the whole thing. I was like, oh wow, this is amazing.
Well, look. So a few things I want to point out, which I find it's just so many cool things. So unless you study their discography, which thankfully I'm a big fan of, so I have, this is actually their longest album they've ever made. And you look at the track list, it's like, how? The final track, They Come Calling Back, is the longest track they've ever recorded and kind of makes up for most of the time. But you know, when I first discovered these guys, I actually saw Todd on on that show on YouTube. You know, I forgot what it's called, but there's a YouTube show where artists go to a CD store and they can buy whatever they want, and they go in and they talk about the vinyl they bought, or CD. And he was there, and his intensity the whole time was just like this, and he's just like, I'm like, dude, this dude's a savage. I got this vibe with him. But look, all things aside, I mean, so many things I love about this album. But first, I'll talk about the length, because to me, I think what's perfect about this album, besides the last track, which is 8 minutes, is that each track is just a contained, a contained nuclear bomb of just pure power. You know, so many times a hardcore band or any band, death metal band, a band will try and make a song like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, but sometimes it's hard to contain that same. It's hard to contain 5 minutes of pure energy, 5 minutes of brutality, because brutality and energy, it's best, I think, done in short doses, short bursts of just 45 seconds, 55 seconds, and in that 55 seconds, they don't waste a single second. It's just nothing but chaos for 55 seconds. And I think, if you're at the gym, if you're walking your dog, if you need that little bit of energy in the morning, this is the perfect go-to album, because you're getting short bursts of manic energy.
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, straight away, I started pacing the room and nodding my head, I was like, yeah, this is it, man. You're just getting ready for a mosh pit kind of thing. But yeah, I do find it really interesting. I love the blast in the senses with, like sensory overload of just pure power and I don't know, sonic aggression. It's always something I've really liked. Bands like Pig Destroyer, they would have been one of the first bands that I kind of got into with this grindcore, but like ultra violent sounding hardcore, and these guys have it in spades. Absolutely love it. I think what Todd brings to this, now the two boys are phenomenal rhythm section, they're just absolutely killer. But obviously the real self-expression that Todd brings to it, he makes being pissed off an art form. It's like it's just such a cool I don't know, just approach on self-expression. Like I'm all for that. I love that. I tell you one thing though, I would never ever want to play a gig after these boys. Like there's bands and they've like charisma and energy and stuff, but nah, not like these boys. These boys are like an absolute furious juggernaut. Like, they really model themselves on the short songs. Obviously this is, like you say, yeah, I heard them saying that this is their longest album, and they were a bit worried that fans were going to be like, what's going on? Why is this album like over 20 minutes long? What's going on? Why isn't that 15 minutes? But like the whole thing is that these songs are short, but they're not lacking anything. Musically, they're just compressed, and the volume is turned up to like a cracking, distorting sort of point. Where it's just all out, no prisoners, and like straight away, the very first track is "You'll Never Be One of Us," and I love that. There's like a couple of famous other musicians talking at the start, isn't it, bro? Saying, yeah, "You'll never be one of us. You'll never be one of us. You'll never be one of us." And even my missus heard that bit at the start of the song, and while I was listening to it, she goes, "Geez, that's real catchy. I like that." And like, she wouldn't normally be into the full on grindcore metal stuff that I'd be into, but like, yeah, even she thought that was catchy, man. There is an abundance of hooks inside all of this madness. It's it just goes to show that they don't just play heavy, fast, short songs for the sake of it. It actually, mean something to them to write them so that there's a hook, there's nice riffs, there's nice rhythmic parts, and there's a couple of breakdown bits as well. And it's like, how did they even find time to squeeze all that in? It's like, what the hell? Like, there's a lot of bits where like the guitars drop out, or just be the drum and bass, or the guitar would be left on its own, and it's just nice little breaks. I'm trying to think of a good example of that. Like, say the second track, a friend to all. It's 45 seconds long. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sublime. It's technically sublime. It's the only way to put it. Like, and for a 45-second song, you would be like, I don't know if I have 45 seconds to give this song the attention. It's got that nice overdriven bass and a lovely tom filled thing, which really just shows, like, the musicality element of the band. It's not just blasting, but I think it's genius, to be quite honest with you, because a lot of bands would have a 5-minute song and have less parts, less sections, less dynamics in a song. It's actually unbelievably cool, like, but I don't know. SAGAS Metal Podcast is sponsored by Viking Lifestyles, your one-stop shop for all your Viking accessory needs. Visit www.vikinglifestyles.com and use the discount code REN10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase.
And I'm not sure why, but when I think of this band, when I think of Todd Jones, when I think of this whole project, I kind of think of a modern R-rated reincarnation of like a band like Black Flag, Henry Rollins. Because back in the day, there were short songs as well, short, sporadic, angry songs, and they kind of taken it to an X-rated extreme. And Todd Jones reminds me a lot of Henry Rollins in his aggression, his attitude. But one thing I really love about this album, a few things. The first thing, I love the simplicity. Like, compared to the other albums, the way lyrically and how this album's structured, like, I love how simple, like how they go to the basics to kind of hurt you with basics. For example, instead of having like Cannibal Corpse style, really brutal lyrics and really, really disgusting lyrics, it's just, you will never be one of us. And that hurts you on some simplistic level. To hear that, like, he's not swearing at you, it's just, you will never be one of us. And to hear that, it's like, it's crushing, but it's crushing in a very simplistic way. Or it's like, violence is forever, they'll come crawling back, made to make you fail. It's such simplistic kind of insults, but those are the ones that kind of hurt the most, because it's directed at your personality. It's directed at your character. It's not just someone going, fuck you, fuck you. It's like, you will never be one of us. And it's just like, it kind of hurts on a whole new personal level when hearing these lyrics. And I love how they use the most basic formula lyrically to just tear at your self-esteem, tear at your ego, tear at your character, but using the most basic formula. And I love that. And the second thing I want to bring up is, I love, it's a small thing, but I love how they have just a few seconds, just barely 2 seconds in between the end of each song to kind of give you like a false breather. It's like, all right, it's good. Like, it's like, they purposely, I swear, instead of making it a continuous project with no break, they purposely add that last 2 seconds at the end of each song. And it's like, oh, you think we're done? And it's like, I love it, because in your head, you're already like, let's just say you're 4 tracks in, you're already feeling that overwhelming euphoria. You're feeling the distortion, you're feeling all the energy. And then, once again, you hit that 2 second break, you try to get a breather, and then it's already starting back up again. I just love how they added that false breather in between each track. It's like, just to give you that false sense of, all right, you think it's done? All right, have a break. No, fuck you. Here we go. It's just like, I don't know. I love everything about it.
Yeah. No, that's it, man. It's brilliant. Like, that's at the end of, like, say, a friend to all that we were chatting about there. And then straight away it kicks into like, made to make you fall or fail. Is it made to make you fail?
Fail.
Yeah. Made to make you fail. And that should be called Made to Make You Headbang, I think, because like it's like it gives you just there that split second to, you know, relax the senses just enough, and then boom, it's just straight into like a big chunky riff with a big. Oh, there's a really interesting like Kerry King style Floyd solo in that with a big woo sort of
Yeah.
thing, like, and I absolutely love it. Like, they're the pissed off kings now for me. Like, you know, I love bands that, you know, there's no messing. It's just like, you know, we're frustrated with the world and we want to use our music to express that, and maybe it'll help other people that's pissed off and they want help expressing it for themselves. Like, it's always been a subject of music that I've always admired and adhered. Like, I was big into, like I said, hardcore, and the lyric content of my youth, especially in my younger days. A lot of the lyrics I'd write would be about being pissed off, you know, and annoyed at this and annoyed at that. Um, and there's nothing better for the soul to vent than to do that. And anybody that's out there that's listening to this, that's annoyed or pissed off at the world, the only thing you need to do, you don't need to go to counseling, you don't need to go boxing or any of that kind of stuff. Just stand behind a microphone and scream your head off. You know, write your thoughts down and scream your head off. Because, like, honest to God, I'd probably be a less nice person had I not got that to vent in my life. You know what I mean? I guarantee you, you meet this Todd Jones fella, and he will be the sweetest, nicest bloke you'll ever meet. And it's just phenomenal to see that, you know, side of a personality where he's like a ferocious monster when he's playing in this band. His vocals actually sound similar tone wise to like an early Corey Taylor. I kind of get that kind of vibe. You know, it could be the way it's the production on this album because there's a bit of distortion on the vocals pretty much on every track. And that was a musical choice, I'm sure, because everything on this album is overdriven and pushed to the edge. You know, there's no fine tuning, there's no sweetening, and it's all raw, like solid. You know, they record with massive amps, massive guitars. And what I mean by that is he plays a BC Rich. So I have one in the corner here, bro. I'm gonna show you later on. It's just a big spiky fella. Yeah, so like everything about these guys is over the top, full of like that aggressive appeal. The drums, like, some, I don't know, I feel sorry for a snare drum listening to these tracks because like it's just and I'm like, oh man, they must go through a serious amount of skins. You know, the studio musician side of me is like, oh man, they must have went through so many of them Remo skins, man. Cost a fortune. But you know what, dude, I gave this, every other album we've done so far, I have just listened to as I'm going on my phone, in the car, on the Alexa thing. But this one I actually sat down. It could have been when I found out that it was the Converge guy done the producing, Kurt, because these kind of records are not made to sound pretty. They're not made to, you know, lure you in a nice, you know, productive value. It's just raw, and it's meant to be as raw as can be. So what I did was I listened to it on my studio monitors here, and where everything's stripped back, you hear it just exactly the way it's supposed to be, how they intended it to be heard. And I swear, man, it's actually amazing how they produced this album. Like, Life is a Death Sentence in particular, which I might chat about a little bit later on in more detail. But that song in particular sounds absolutely amazing on studio monitors. And the fact that I gave it the time to sit down and listen to it here, just goes to show how much I enjoyed it. you know. And like I've been sick all week, bro. I swear this was the best album you could have asked me to listen to because you know it kept me going, kept me motivated. You know, I was like all week, I was like, oh, I feel rotten, and the missus is sick, the young fella's sick, everybody's it's like the plague here in the house. But we're like, you know, like this music is giving me energy. I'm gonna get on with my day, and I ended up recording a rake of tracks this week, and I was real productive and stuff. And it's good stuff. So, like you said about the gym, this is let's say life energy music.
Well, I just want to know, with your situation at home, you feeling sick, your whole family feeling sick, would you say that for you, life is a death sentence?
You very good.
But so I have a question. So did you get a chance at all to listen to their past discography?
No, I didn't, bro.
Oh, well, it is. I'm pretty sure I showed you a snippet last week after recorded the last episode.
Yeah.
But to the hardcore fans of Nails, surprisingly, this is considered their softest album to date, which is incredible. Anyone who's listened to this album and you've listened to it, it's like to think that people think they've gone soft on this one is just insane to think about. Like, and if you listen to the vocals of Todd Jones on his previous albums, there's only two. Like, it's like he's literally raking his vocal cords. It sounds so strange and so fucked. But I just thought that was an interesting point. But yeah, like I said, I love how focused. I love the focused adrenaline put in all these songs, and you know, and then I find it interesting how they chose to end the album in an 8-minute song. It's like, and they keep it real kind of sludge metalish. They keep it real like sludgy and real grimy and real heavy. And then they just, you know, especially towards the end of the track, you have that harrowing, they come crawling back. And then, you know, you hear those guitars. Like you said, there's kind of Kerry King type guitars kind of playing towards the end of the song. And it's just like, it's such an interesting idea for a closer, because obviously we have this fast-paced, relentless album up until this point, and then they kind of sludge it down towards the end. It's like, and you know, it's already considered the softest album by hardcore fans. So then towards the end, they're just like, fuck it, let's just sludge it out towards the end. And I love the idea of lasting this album all the way through, and then 10th track just kind of gliding it out. And I just think it's an interesting idea for an outro.
It's yeah, it was a really interesting. You know what? I listened to the whole album and I got to the end and I was like, geez, the last song's 8 minutes long. And then straight away I was like, sure, that's the majority of the album, you know, time-wise. I thought that was really interesting. It's kind of cool, you know. It's like they really want to they really want to stick with the, I don't know, actually here's a question for you. Did they have any other songs that are that length, you know, 8 minutes long?
Yeah,
super short. Is that the only song they have that's like 8 minutes long or 5 or 6 minutes long? Yeah,
the longest track they have.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I saw an interview and they were chatting about how this was a bit more, they're more I wouldn't say mainstream, but more easier listening compared to the other albums. I was like, what? There's no way. There is no way, man. And like I said, I listened to Converge for a long time. Jane Doe was one of my favorite albums. When that came out first, I was like, oh man, this is amazing, because it has that blast to the senses. But the really cool thing about this is that, you know, a lot of people would find this kind of sound intolerable, you know. It's definitely something to work up to, you know, because I've had a few people talking to me lately about what albums, you know, I'm looking to get into metal. What kind of albums should I listen to, and where should I start? And it's a difficult question in a sense, but I think starting off kind of light-ish metal is the best way to start off. and then gradually build your way up to it. It's like an acquired taste on the senses, on the earlobes to build up to, Now I don't know if everybody's like that. Maybe you're hardcore, man. You probably went straight into this, not a bother. But like some people would need that, gradual progression. And I definitely think that these guys are up there on the top tier of violence and sonic, just mind-blowing music, which is an absolute testament, because there's a lot of bands out there that rip the head off you the minute you stick on a record, and that's just a pure testament to these boys. Like I don't know why they're not bigger than they are. I think they deserve to be a lot higher up. I know they've only 3 records, right? 5 EPs, all on vinyl. So I don't know, maybe I did hear another unfortunate thing, that Todd is the only one left in the band.
Yeah.
That everybody's left, right?
Mm.
So I think that because the 2 boys, John, the bass player, I think, and Taylor Young, the drummer, are in a band called Disgrace, who I haven't listened to, but I'm gonna check them out and see. So obviously they're busy with them. I wouldn't say, because they all seem quite into it. And I was watching them in the studio recording this album, and they all seem really into it, and they love what they do. So mustn't have been anything like that. But I found it interesting. We were reviewing about Suno there 2 weeks ago, I think, and that's a Southern Lord Records is them boys' label, that they started themselves. And these guys, I think their first record might have come out on Southern Lord, before they got onto Nuclear Blast later on. So it's kind of cool. All these cool creative heads all together, but these are from California. And there's always great music coming out of California, like, especially the hardcore stuff, like. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I can't say enough good things about this album, but say Violence is Forever, that's the standard length type of song on this, 3 minutes 26 seconds, and that's where the standardness stops, because this album, that track then becomes anything but standard. It's just like a relentless track. This is when I was listening to this one, I was like, you know what, I would like just for a second, I'd like to hear this track recorded, really polished off, just out of interest, like if it was like, say, Rick Rubin or somebody, and just make it real finely tuned and polished, and take all the rough edges off, because I think it could be a really big song, like if it was, I love the way they've recorded this, and the direction and the vision for this, but I just think it would be interesting to hear, some of these songs, because there's so many hooks, and the riffs are gargantuan, like just like proper riffs, and that track in particular has one of my favorite things, is a big halftime beat, chunky riff, headbanging, stonking, pure, hardcore breakdown sort of thing. So yeah, that's just me though, like I'm just used to listening to polished, nice music nowadays. We're spoiled, you see. Back in the day, you wouldn't get so much nice sounding music. But yeah, I don't know, that would just be something interesting I'd like to.
Let me ask you something. Are you sick of the PG era? Are you sick of walking around on eggshells, being afraid of who you offend with this comment or who you offend with that? Well, I got the perfect solution for you. It's called Gas Digital Network. Now, over at Gas Digital Network, they have freedom of speech, and they have it in spades. They're a comedy network that has plenty of amazing podcasts, mainly in comedy, and they have the perfect podcast, my favorite podcast, the Legion of Skanks podcast, aka the most offensive podcast on earth. Over here at Gas Digital, they don't care about what they say, they don't care about who they offend, they just say what they think is funny. And in a world where everyone is woke, in a world where everyone is offended, this, for me and for so many others, is a breath of fresh air. So, come to Gas Digital Network, sign up and get so many amazing podcasts, especially my favorite, the Gas Digital Network, as well as other amazing podcasts such as Berg's Base by Aaron Berg, one of the funniest comedians out there who also push the boundaries of what you can or cannot say, and I promise you will not regret it. So, if you're tired of walking on eggshells, be tired no more, and come support and enjoy the amazing free world of Gas Digital.
Last year, the year before that, and I've been like patiently waiting. But like you said, I can't say enough good things about it, because to me, look, whenever I'm feeling down, whenever I'm feeling shit, whenever I'm feeling tired or lack of energy, there isn't too many albums I choose over this one. Because I have these amazing, which no one can see but you, but I have these amazing Beat Studio $400 headphones. And I would put on this album and you can hear the bass, you can hear the audio, the noise cancelling, and I'm just blasting in my own little world. And I love it from top to bottom, and that's why it's going to be very interesting. I think you'll find it interesting to hear my devil's advocate opinions.
Yes. Well, let's hear those then. Let's do it.
What a great segue, huh?
Yeah, very, very well. Nobody else got to see how cool you were after that. You took a sip of your drink just after that, and was like,
I didn't even notice.
You're super slick. I got to see it. Everybody is super slick.
All right, so do you want to start or me?
I know you work away.
All right, so for me, my favorite has always been the intro track. You Will Never Be One of Us. To me, you can't ask for a better intro. From, as you said, from the voices, you will never be one of us. You will never be one of us. And then you have that 1 second delay, and then straight away you've got that. To me, it's the perfect opener for such a brutal album, and it sets the precedent for what the album's going to be, for how brutal it's going to be. And from the first track down, it does not let up. It is amazing top to bottom, and I think it's because it has such a strong opener. So You'll Never Be One of Us, amazing. Now, I kind of feel like my worst track is kind of predictable at this point, because as you know from other Devil's Advocates, I'm quite the traditionalist. To me, all I think about is the album. I don't think about why they did it, or I don't care why they did it, why this, why that. I'm just very concentrated on the album, what makes the album work, what makes the album. So for me, just because to me, I feel like it would have been better to have a normal song at the end. They Come Crawling Back. It is not a bad song. I love every song on here, and I really don't care that it's the longest track. I don't care at all. But to me, I would have preferred from start to finish to be the same brutal, fast-paced energy. So I think just because I have to choose one, They Come Crawling Back.
Yeah, nice. I almost would have been 100% on you with this one, man. But I'm 50% there today, because I decided, for me, straight away, I was thinking, You Will Never Be One of Us, because it is such a cool song. But I have this habit of picking the song that I've heard first that kind of I got a good reaction out of. And I wasn't fair on this one, because that was the very first song I've ever heard of them. So I thought I'd give it a bit more intent listening on the other tracks, just to see if there was anyone that I liked more. But I agree with you. That first track is definitely a contender for me as well. If it wasn't for this song, I'm sure I would have went for that one. But for my favorite song, I went for Life Is a Death Sentence. Simply because it's kind of like two songs in one, even though it's only a minute and 39 seconds long. It feels like there's two songs in there, which is pretty badass. So starts off with this, first 48 seconds of extreme grindcore, hardcore violence. I don't think I've ever used the word violence to describe an album so much. It's unreal, like, because violence is bad, but you know, when it's in this context, it's pretty good. But everything drops out then, and all of a sudden there's just this wicked chorus. You could call it a chorus level. It's only used once in the song, but it's like a chorus type hook, and it's just wicked. It has that proper hardcore stride where you just want to get up and walk around in a circle, banging your head, nodding your head with a big kind of like angry kind of, you get what I mean, you know. It's like you just want to, like, you know, break something, but you're not gonna, because you're like, you know, containing it. It's just pretty cool. Anybody that's never listened to music and done that kind of thing, I pity you. Getting submerged in it and just like, yeah, let's do this. So that's what that track does for me. So that's my favorite one. Yeah, 100%. I 100%, 50% agree with you on this one. This last song as well got me. You know, it's a bit of a slow burner as well. It has the sludginess, like you were saying, and it is cool. And I did find it interesting that it was 8 minutes and 14 seconds long, whatever. But it just, I don't know. Every time I listen to the album, because it's only 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 43 seconds, I got to listen to it quite a few times during the week. And every time I got to that, I think I listened to that track maybe twice, but every other time I went straight back to the start. I was straight after into, what's that, Quietus? I went straight back into the first track. So to me, that just put a red flag up and said, nah, you're not digging that one. But that's all. I mean, like, it's not even, there's nothing bad to say about the track in particular. It just didn't, like, another song I wasn't overly enthusiastic about was In Pain. But still, there was elements in that kept me listening more so than They Come Crawling Back. So, yeah. So maybe it is maybe I've only listened to this band this week, but maybe I would be more into the purist side to this band, you know, where that just pummeling your brain for like, you know, a minute or less than a minute sort of thing. Like, so on first listening to this band, that's what they do right. They play a minute and a half, less than a minute of just pure, crazy, awesome, brain pummeling metal. Yeah, so I think this was a good shout this week, brother.
I was going to say one thing before we go. It's kind of sad. I just realized now it's kind of sad that I guess Todd Jones was actually right in his field. He said, "I'll be worried that people wouldn't be interested in our longer stuff." Well, we kind of unfortunately proved them right. Sorry, Todd.
Well, so is Todd. I mean, mucho respecto, brother. Like absolute legend of a man. The work he done. If anybody's listening to this as well that hasn't listened to Terror, definitely listen to Terror. And One for the Underdogs is one of the best hardcore albums ever. Which I was contemplating doing for next week, bro, but I think there's another album that has pegged it for me just for something different, you know, something that we
let me know. What is it? What's our album?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I it's not usually something that we do, but I just thought for a change, seeing as we're doing a lot of dark stuff, I thought we'd do something a little bit more fun. So
Britney Spears.
Come on. Hit Me Baby One More Time is an absolute classic, and you know
it is, but it's not metal.
Oh, you have me coughing now, man. Yeah, so Glory Hammer is a really unusual power metal band, you know, and I just thought that their album Legends, this is a long title, bear with me, Legends from Beyond the Galactic Terror Vortex.
I see.
I just thought it would be an interesting, more fun element to metal that we've not hit on before. So might be a bit interesting, you know. You see.
Fair enough. Well, you heard it here first. We'll be doing Glory Hammer next week. So tune in every Well, I guess I'll upload this on Thursday. So tune in Thursday Australian time, and I guess Wednesday your time, European.
I've stopped trying to figure it out, man.
That's the main headache of all this, time zones. But
yeah.
look, if you're from Australia, every Thursday, and if you're from Ireland, Wednesday.
Yeah, whatever time Corbin is on, we're 11 hours behind. So
yeah, so 11 hours behind Australia. That's his time. And yeah, so all right. Well, that was this week's episode. And as we always say before we finish, same time, same place, or something.
Or something. Sludge, everybody.
That was the SAGAS Middle Podcast.